And so one of the things we've been doing as an example is a massive representative study of college graduates in the US, something that's actually never been done, looking at their long-term outcomes in work and life, right? So beyond just salary, we're asking things about whether they're engaged in the work that they're in, et cetera. And what we found is that there's really key ingredients of the college experience that double the odds you end up engaged in your work over your lifetime. And they are things like whether you worked on a long-term project that took a semester or more to complete, or whether you had a job or an internship where you applied what you were learning in the classroom. Here's the problem. Less than a third of all college graduates in the US hit the mark on both of those, and yet doing so doubles the odds that you end up in a good job, right, over your lifetime. So when you look at that now in the high school level, you realize that less than 5% of students in high school are interning with a local organization. Only about 17% are working an hour or more in a paid job. And this is about, in simple terms, relationships between employers in an area and a school. So, I mean, just, think of that. I mean, that's elbow grease. I mean, people at the school or people at companies, right, making connections. And it's not just the large employers in an area. Everybody thinks about them, but it's all the small and medium-sized employers who, by the way, would benefit more from an intern than a typical large employer would. So here's the problem. We have accountability metrics based on grades, test scores, and graduation rates. We have no accountability metrics based on the degree to which students are having qualitative experiences like internships, like courses that require long-term projects. But all that stuff is measurable, and solving for it is something that just is a matter of elbow grease. Now, I'll give you a couple important examples. C-level business executives. Only 11% of them in the United States strongly agree that college graduates are well prepared for success in the workplace. 99% of provosts of colleges and universities think they're doing a good job preparing students for success. You see the disconnect there, right? And by the way, 85% of employers would rather hire a B- student with an internship than an A+ student without one. So that starts to put into, a little bit of perspective. We still value grades, but we want somebody that has real experience, and we're willing to trade basically a 1.5 letter grade for somebody with a work experience. If you missed this story a year and a half ago, Google came out, right, and a story about what they've learned about big data in their HR practice. And one of the things they said was that they're no longer asking about the grades and test scores of anybody who applies for a job at Google because they found no relationship between grades and test scores and success on the job at Google. Now that's a pretty powerful wake-up call, right? When you think about one of the world's most admired employers basically saying, oh, by the way, those metrics that schools hold dear, right, we don't actually care anymore. Here's another innovative idea. Instead of just students having internships, what about professors or teachers having externships, where they actually spend time inside of a company? These are very bright people, right? If they understand some of the great needs of the workplace, they will find ways to bring that back to a classroom. I mean, at the K-12 level, there's virtually no time allowed for, kind of blank canvas projects. There's no, there is a set of content that we have to march students through before the day is over, right? So that, it's restricted based on certain standards, on, a lot of stuff like that. At the higher ed level, it's just mainly our biggest hang up is tradition. This is how we've always done it. Grades are what matters. And by the way, you think about, professors. I mean, professors are not incentivized in higher ed to help students get jobs, right? To help them, build long-term projects and capstone experiences. So I think in simple terms, you change the way we incentivize people, you change the things we value, and that's what'll change. But right now, the only thing holding us back is tradition. Americans value education for many reasons, right? But the number one reason they value it is to get a good job. Okay, so if you say, how are we doing on aligning education with job outcomes? We're doing a lousy job right now. It's working for some people, but not the majority. And that's even of college graduates. So, that we have to understand. We also have to know it's not just about a job, because they value it on a number of levels, right? To be, engaged citizens, right? I mean, all kinds of other things. So it's not as simple as saying it's for this or for that. It's for a number of things that we value, but on the thing we value most, that's the thing we're probably underperforming in the greatest. But I think fundamentally, if I boiled it down, it's students need to work on real projects, applying problems to real solutions, and they have to have anything that gets them close to a real work experience where they apply what they're learning to something real. And if you say, how do you motivate kids to learn? You show them how learning X translates to Y outcome, right? And so in a lot of the schools that are re-engineering things, they're actually They're actually bringing students into the immersion experiences first before they send them into the tough weed out classes in mathematics. If you want to create more engineers, start showing them what they can build as an engineer. Don't send them through a really tough weed out math class and then wait till their senior year where they get to see a practical example of what they can bring to life.